Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Friday in the Riv.
And it's going to be a
And
rainy day today.
yeah, maybe some thunder showers, and so we're going to get ready. But let's start with a little uh, kind of big news that maybe our viewers and our fans and our the fans who hate us but still watch uh, might be interested in. We may be going national. Uh, right, CJ? You want to give them the details of this? That we're looking at the possibility.
Yes, yesterday I received an email suggesting that we may want to consider broadcasting on Rumble. And for people who don't know what Rumble is a relatively new uh, video podcasting company that promotes free speech, promotes your First Amendment rights. And it leans very conservative, but again, it's free speech. And there are some great names that are using Rumble. So you may want to consider looking at it, and you may want to go review Rumble now and see what else might be on there that you might like. But it's definitely something different that we've been approached with, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting. Of course, obviously the fact that we were unceremoniously booted from the college because of political pressure and denied our First Amendment rights. I think that kind of highlighted our show to Rumble. And I think Dan Bongino, who used to be on Fox, I think he was involved in the formation of this thing. As you said, there are some big names on Rumble. I do actually have the Rumble app on my phone. I don't go to it a lot because there's a lot of. It's also a conversational thing there too. But yeah, it's pretty good. But let's get down to some city business here. You and I were discussing it, and I got a text here. It's probably a Facebook post or something, or maybe it isn't. It's newsbreak.com. So the city of Florida spent $50,000 of ARPA money on a tourism study. And then these are a couple of the comments that after that were attached to this. It said, most of the people coming here are coming for drugs and drug clinics, not for tourism. 50,000 later, and they still can't figure that one out. And somebody else said, Fall River isn't tourist friendly. I could have shown the city that for way less than 50,000. So look, we've talked about this again. Look, this is one of their red herrings that they throw out all the time. Tourism's gonna save the city. Tourism's gonna do it. Well, as I always say, we're between Newport and Cape Cod, the two biggest tourist attractions in the northeastern United States. Nobody's getting off the highway. And I think they did a study, and I think that study did say that virtually nobody from greater than 50 miles away ever comes to this city. Nobody's stopping. Nobody's stopping to come to Fall River from Ohio or Indiana or any other place because they look at the thing and they go, oh, let's see, Newport, the mansions, the 12-mile drive, Cliff Walk, Tennis Hall of Fame, Dame Street, Brick Alley, Fall River, Lizzie Borden, drugs, crime. I think we'll go to Newport. And if they say, well, what else do we got? Well, you got Cape Cod. Cape Cod speaks for itself. They even made a movie. They even made a song on old Cape Cod. So these people are demented. They're worse than demented. They're just flat out lying to you. They're hanging the carrot of the panacea of fixing Fall River with one thing, and that's impossible. The reality is, listen, and I keep telling you this, and nobody pays attention. Miami's always had a great tourism plan. I mean, I went there years ago to a convention, and I had relatives that moved to Florida and lived and worked in Miami, actually. Always had a phenomenal tourist industry.
The Fontainebleau.
So, yeah, that's where I stayed, actually, the Fontainebleau on Collins Avenue. But the reality is, they've always had a phenomenal tourist industry. But it never helped the city. It made some people rich, but they didn't reinvest that in the people of Miami. Miami was one of the worst cities in the world to live in at one time. This new mayor, I think his name's Suarez or something, I think he's done a lot now for the people. And the same thing with Atlantic City. Atlantic City made billions of dollars in gambling. Never reinvested it in the city. And if you walked off the boardwalk in Atlantic City, you were walking into a ghetto. You couldn't even walk there. You had to stay on the boardwalk and in the casino area. Tourism doesn't fix anything because even if you do have a great tourist industry, which we're not capable of having, if you have one brain cell that's functioning, and you look at this city and look at what we're competing against, it's still not going to do any good because they don't invest money in the city at all. They just invest money for their friends so they can get rich. And that'll segue me into the next thing. And that's the problem. So, CJ, just weigh in on that, baby, because this thing again, another way we're going to save the city. The Bounty's going to save the city. The USS Massachusetts is going to save the city. The Duval Corridor is going to save the city. Calling it a gateway city is going to save the city. Everything's saving the city, and the city hasn't been saved. We're on our way. We're a hell of a lot closer to being Detroit than we are being Newton.
Well, one of the things that I found interesting was I heard about that study yesterday, and I had remembered that the city had spent $50,000 of ARPA money to do this study. And according to some of the information that was released on the study, it's been found that people travel less than 60 miles to come to Fall River, and only for one thing: clothes. You might think that they think we're the old outlets. Remember the old outlets we had?
Yep.
You might think that we're the old outlets. We're not. They come here for Alexandra's, the high-end, uppity dress store. The dress shop, which is on South Main Street, which is a very good company. But those don't generate tax dollars because there are no taxes on those clothes unless they're over $2,500, and I don't think they are. And maybe people stay and get a dinner. Maybe they stay for dinner. Maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe they come here and then they leave and they go to New Bedford for some great seafood, because we really don't have any great seafood restaurants in Fall River anymore. Even LePage's has received a lot of criticism about the quality of their food, which I found rather interesting because when Eric had the place, it was always wonderful. But where's the return on investment? Did we get a return on investment on this tourism study? I don't think so. I think we pissed away $50,000, and again, that's nothing new for Paul.
No, wait a minute. We did not do that. What we did was make one of his friends $50,000.
That's right.
Because that's the way this operates. We all know this. We all know that the money goes to the money. And but see, here's the thing that really disturbs me. $50,000 just blown. $7 million in the Duval Corridor for lights and benches. Even though we were going to get lights and benches from the state anyway, but we have to have $7 million more. I wonder who's making it. I wonder who's making the money on that deal, and why? Because they're going to make it so wonderful, and because that's going to be the crown jewel, and it'll be we all know it's going to be a homeless encampment ultimately anyway. But the reality is that this guy has no consideration for the regular people. Just look at what he said. Well, I have the audio. I'm not going to play it today because I have to go searching for it. I'd have to queue it up. But here's the guy that said, I know that I think his words were the rents are really, really. He used some adjective which is not normal for him, but that was actually appropriate. But they're tremendously impactful or something on the people. He said, but then again, in the long run, high rents will be good for the city. Really?
Oh, I remember him saying that. I remember that.
Yeah, well, I remember it. And he said it more than once. That's the key. Here's a guy that's so insensitive to the population he's supposed to represent that he can make a statement like that. Really? High rents are going to be good? No, high rents are going to be good for the people you know, Paul, because all you ever say is, my banker friend said this, my lawyer friend said this, my developer friend said this, my rich and connected friends say this, and all the people I gave good big jobs to say this. But the average people in Fall River, we got what, almost 95,000 people at the last call, we're over 90,000. And the average per capita income, and that was last show I looked it up, was 28,000 and change. And the household income was 49, which is well below the state average. So you're going to tell me that it's really good. So when we displace all these people, because that's what the code you're saying, in the long run, it'll be good because it'll get all the poor people out of Fall River and we don't have to look at them anymore. But they're not. The tent cities are growing. I just saw an article about there used to be 2 tents. Now they're up to, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7 tents.
Right.
And, this will probably affect 80,000 people. Some more than others, but some that it's going to displace them completely. So where the hell do you think they're going to go, Paul? Where are they going to go? They're not going to move to Newton. They're not going to go the other way because the rents are higher there. Fall River, not too long ago, the average rents were like 800 and something, not at 2,000, nearly 2,000. And we have the stats and we'll go over them, but hopefully one of the candidates will. But I'll tell you, it's absolutely incredible. This guy he doesn't care about the majority of people in Fall River. So the only thing that can happen that would create some type of justice is that all those people who he thinks are subhuman and don't belong anywhere near him and his rich elitist friends, is they all get out to vote and vote all his rubber stamps on a city council and him out of office. Because that's the only way that this city is ever going to turn around. Because Paul Coogan has proved in his 4 years, and he actually mentioned crime. He admitted there was a lot of shootings when he was pressed on the ghost gun law. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of shooting, but you've never acknowledged. You told somebody that, I don't care if you got a bullet hole in your house. He's never really acknowledged that we have a serious crime problem in his city. But here's a guy that's living in an alternate universe, and he can, because let's face it, he's got a nice pension. He's getting 120 G's that he can stick right in the bank because he can live on his pension. So he's made nearly $500,000 in 2 terms. Not bad bank for somebody that's done absolutely nothing except give out jobs and tell people, shut up. You don't get to talk because you live in public housing. Shut up. You can't talk about affordable housing. Go buy a house. If you have a house, then you can talk about it. No, people can talk about anything they want. That's why I was so pleased to hear that Rumble reached out to us, and because, see, they're a true First Amendment. Everybody has a right to their opinion. $50,000 on a study. How long have we been studying tourism? This is bullshit from the high heavens, and you can't classify it as anything else. The reality is this guy's spending $7 million on benches and lights and 50,000 on a tourism study while people are being pushed out of their homes. And he hasn't done a damn thing about affordable housing. Oh, we're going to build 2 units here, 3 units here, when we need Somerset's building twice as much as we are, and they got 18,000 people in Somerset. You know, this guy is so far out of touch. He may have to actually put on a spacesuit when he comes down to the gravity that we have in Fall River.
You know, what's very interesting is, you know, a good brief look at tourism in Fall River was very easily done at low cost. The mayor is throwing all these parties all over the waterfront, at the Norton City Pier, the gates of the city, the boardwalk. He's got all of these events going on. He's got events going on in the parks, concerts in the parks. You know, each day, 1 day a week in the park, you have food, and they're giving away free food, which tells you something about these days in the park, because Angels Anonymous is showing up and giving away free food because people don't have the money to buy food. Imagine that. Imagine that. Why don't you check how many people are there coming from out of the city at these events? Why? Because nobody's coming from out of the city for these events. That would have been a good indicator. Very good indicator. If they had an event that showed 1,000 people showed up and they said 150 people were there, guess what? That's a good percentage. You'd say people are starting to look at Fall River. Although very few, you still can say people are starting to look at Fall River. But we don't do that. Why? Because we might get insulted when they turn around and say, 0. Nobody's coming from out of Fall River. Nobody cares about coming from Fall River. Okay? People come from out of the city in the summer for the feasts. You and I know this, whether it be the Great Feast of the Holy Ghost, or as this weekend, St. Michael's Feast is this weekend. You know, Spirito Santo on Memorial Day weekend, Santa Cristo. They have all these feasts. And people come to them. But they don't come to them because of the food or the camaraderie. They come for the food. And they come to revisit their old church or revisit their family. And they don't come here to spend a lot of money in the community. They spend it all at the feast. Because that's where it's supposed to be spent. It's not supposed to be spent in the community. But this is what happens. This is what happens. So your $50,000, Paul, that you gave to your friend or spent on a consulting firm or whatever the case may be was a waste of money. And I'm sure that Linda Pereira had something to do with getting that study done, because Linda is a big supporter of tourism. She wants to make Fall River be the next tourism capital of the world.
Yeah.
And I think people need to realize it's not going to happen.
Look, the reality is that all these politicians, they do the same thing. It's just a recycle of the whole thing. It's like making promises to fix the city overnight. It can't be done. You got to build it back up just the way they tore it down, brick by brick. And it's you have to realize that this is a this is a multifaceted thing. You have to build. Number one, you have to rebuild its workforce, because half the people in Fall River are not employable anymore. Not that difficult. Rhode Island did it when they sent a whole bunch of people to welding school and got them nice high-paying jobs at Electric Boat. There are apprenticeship programs, private, public partnerships, feeder systems from the schools into various occupations. We're not reinventing the wheel here. Germany's been doing it for 75 years. They have the best apprenticeship program on the planet. They actually don't even let people go to college if they're not capable of getting a degree that's going to mean something, because they put them in a trade school. And their apprenticeship program's the best in the world. I ran into a guy at Dunkin' Donuts that was here from Germany. I was talking about the apprenticeship program to somebody, And the guy said, "Oh, yeah, I overheard you. I don't want to interrupt." He said, "But I'm from Germany, and I'm here in the United States for 6 months to set up a plant because he was a machinist." And he said, "I went through the apprenticeship program. It's wonderful, and but there are ways. But that's it. First, nobody cares about the people. First, you gotta try to fix the problems the people have. Give them a better opportunity to get a job. Try to move that per capita income up to where it's even close to the rest of the state. Because without that, you can't fix this city because people don't have any money. No money means no. They're not going to support businesses, small businesses, and the city's going to be what it is. We have, last time I checked, there were around 5,000 small businesses in Fall River. Newton had 15,000, 3 times as many. Why? People got money. And that's the first step. But then you have to bring in companies. Then you have to deal with the homeless. You have to deal with the housing. You have this, to go in there and wave these magic bullets. Oh, the battleship will fix it. The Bounty, well, the Bounty sunk. They towed it away. I don't know what happened. It's back in Tahiti. I don't care. But nothing works. This is like watching Detroit all over again. Detroit did all these things over and over and over again. And it got to the point where they were selling houses in the metropolitan Detroit area for $1, and they couldn't sell them. Nobody wanted to go there. Why? Because it's loaded with crime, and their school system was failing. And guess what? Fall River is #1 in crime, and our school system is failing. So you really think rich people are going to leave Boston, and if they can afford Boston rents, and they're not living under a bridge, they can live anywhere else in the state because Boston's got the highest rents by far. So you don't think they're going to stop somewhere in between Fall River and New Bedford and pitch their tent there? You don't think they could live in a nice suburban area, more rural area, if they can afford Boston rents? So the rents are a little higher in a Dartmouth or a Somerset or a Swansea. They're building market rate housing over there too, but they're also building affordable housing in Somerset. They got a 63 unit, I believe 60 some unit thing going up there with a population of 18,000. Paul Coogan thinks 3 units here, 2 units there, 4 units there. I mean, listen, they don't care. These politicians come here, get rich, make all their friends rich, and then move on. Where do they go? It's irrelevant where they go, but I'll tell you where they don't stay. It's in Fall River because they all ultimately bail.
Well, we have a comment from a viewer right now who's going by the name of Mr. X.
Oh, Mr. Oh, now we got a anonymous another anonymous
He actually sounds like a nice guy. He says, "I wonder if they'll put the crime headlines in their brochures."
No, they never.
I'm a retiree, and I will move out of here because the city is not safe. And that's an opinion of a lot of people. Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. X.
No, and listen,
true.
No, yeah, but it is true. But and I'm glad we got a comment from a retiree because, as you know, I'm very involved with the retirees and
right,
municipal retirees and all retirees. But they're the people who get impacted the most by crime, by escalating taxes. I mean, it's a sad commentary on this community that they're so insensitive to people of lower income, but then you get the retirees who are on a fixed income. It's inconceivable to me that someone who has had his house, his or her house or their house, paid for 20 or 30 years and are now facing losing that house because they can't afford the taxes and fees in Fall River. And that's happening as we speak. And when everything comes home to roost, Durfee debt, and not being subsidized by ARPA money, diamond debt, all the jobs Paul's created. Remember the 68 jobs he created?
Yeah.
And how about the 4 new supervisors over in the school department supervising the same amount of people that one used to? After he gets, and some of these jobs are being funded with ARPA money. All that stuff's going to come due. The police contract is being funded by, quote, uh, investments. We're looking at investments down the road. Well, last time I checked, that won't fly when somebody's looking for your ability to pay. Because I'll tell you what, if I went, like I say, I always say, if I went to the bank and asked for a mortgage based on I'm looking at some investments down online, you know what they'd say? Well, come back when you can show me how much money you made on those investments, because we're not going to give you a mortgage, because we want to see your last 5 years tax returns and all your pay stubs to make sure you got a job. But no, Fall River just spends money. These politicians leave, and they all leave with a lot fatter wallets, and they're gone. And it's tragic. And the problem is that we see this all the time, and there's no consideration because they move out. They all move out. Most of the mayors, they ultimately left. We can name them. Some of them stayed, but they've all got a lot of money. And when you got a lot of money, none of this stuff affects you. All these high taxes, all these things, they're just going to shrug their shoulders and go, well, yeah, who cares? I'm just going to make more money and I'll get more money out of the deal. So it is a travesty. And we appreciate everybody's comments, even the ones that try to justify some of this stuff. But the reality is that now I have to segue into something, because Monday's show may be a little something you guys may get a rise out of. We talked about a text, I think, on the last show, CJ. Did we not? About something somebody posted something, and we had done that before. Here it is. Some anonymous, because the post says anonymous participant.
Right.
I don't
That's
like
a new thing on Facebook. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. And it says, I think we actually had a response from Sutter on that original post that talked about a specific case. And, I believe his response was he had his 2 best ADAs on it. He had nothing to do with the case except assigning those DAs, and the thing went through the process, and it was what it was. But now, now that the election is officially on, I guess they're going to try to continue to sling mud on that in that area. But it's up to him to defend himself. So this is what it says. It says, from anonymous participants. So hashtag Sam Sutter is running for mayor of this city. How many know his past with New Bedford and the City of New Bedford Police Department official, in parentheses, question mark, question mark, question mark. Well, since I don't live in New Bedford, I assume if there was a problem in New Bedford, we'd be hearing about it in New Bedford. But okay, does anyone in Bristol County ever research their constituents before they vote for them? Well, I think constituents are the wrong word of it, but we do. Actually, I know 2 guys, and I'm looking at the other one. We research everybody.
That's right.
I'll answer that question. We research everybody. Seems like a lot of people want to vote for this guy, even though his checkered political past has proven he's incompetent and unreliable for the job. Well, I don't even know. Reading, I'm pretty good with words. I write pretty well, and everybody has a writing style. And I read the first 3/4 of this, and that last sentence somebody must have given them, because I'm not sure checkered past and this other thing. But I actually received a call and about this from Sam Sutter, and he said he would like us, and you and I have talked about it, to tell this individual, this anonymous individual, if he wants to be more specific and debate the issue, he will be on the show Monday, and he will engage him, and we'll just let him, because that's what we do. We don't suppress First Amendment rights. If this guy's got a case, if he's got some facts, we all want to hear him. And we want to hear Sam Sutter's response to him, because that's part of the process. The more information we get, the better everybody can make a decision on who to vote for.
And that's all we want, is for people to go out and vote. But we want you to be an informed voter, somebody who knows what they're talking about. In regards to Monday, we may be starting a little bit later than normal, not too far off of 10 o'clock, but maybe a couple of minutes. The system will be all set up to go at 10 a.m., but it will not go forward until I release it. I have an important appointment earlier in the morning, and I'm hoping to be back here in time. I will keep in touch with Chip to be sure that he knows, and we will get on the air as soon as possible Monday, as close to our normal broadcast hour as possible. I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. And thank you for watching the show. We'll see you on Monday. And remember, vote.
And do your homework.
Don't ask me why I keeps doing that.
What? You can't. Thunder.